You guys will never believe what happened. I'm Sarah, living in this quaint, tree-lined neighborhood in the coastal town of Seabrook, chasing my dream of becoming a novelist who weaves stories from the sea's whispers. Today's my 18th birthday, and I plan to celebrate quietly, maybe with a notebook and the sound of waves. But I ended up at Ezra's place, the retired bookstore owner next door with the silver hair, warm blue eyes, and a voice that could calm a stormy sea. We were just watching a movie, just hanging out, just being comfortable. But when I fell asleep against him and he didn't move, something quiet and complicated sparked between us. Want to know how it went down? Keep watching, because this story is all about one night that hums softer and deeper than the sea itself. Like and subscribe for more. Sarah's 18th birthday had dawned like the opening chapter of a novel. Her new adulthood, a blank page brimming with possibility. Seabrook, with its salt-weathered cottages and whispering pines, was her muse for the summer. Her rented attic room, a cozy haven of notebooks, ink pens, and the briny scent of the sea drifting through a cracked window. Her latest story, a tale of a lighthouse keeper's secrets, spulsed with her restless energy. Its prose vivid, mirroring the daring stirring in her heart on this milestone day. Turning 18 had ignited a fearless curiosity, a hunger to embrace what felt real, even if it scared her. But as the evening settled in, the weight of the day's celebrations with friends, a solo walk by the shore left her craving comfort, and her thoughts drifted to Ezra, the retired bookstore owner next door, whose quiet warmth had become a story she couldn't stop writing in her mind. At 67, Ezra was a former bookseller whose gentle charm had caught her eye since she moved to Seabrook a year ago. His silver hair was swept back. His warm blue eyes carried the depth of years curating novels, and his hands, steady from turning countless pages, moved with a quiet grace that felt like a well-loved book. His evening, Sarah, in passing, paired with a reserved smile, had always felt polite but distant, like a story on a high shelf. She'd told herself it was just gratitude for a neighbor who'd lent her a rare copy of Brontë, who'd shared tales of his bookstore days over porch tea. But her just-turned Dane boldness, amplified by her birthday, drew her to his door, seeking the comfort of his familiar presence after a long day. The evening was cool, Seabrook alive with the rustle of leaves and the distant crash of waves, the air thick with the scent of salt and damp earth. Sarah had spent the day celebrating lunch with friends, a seaside walk, but by evening, she craved something quieter. Dressed in jeans and a light sweater, her hair loose from the sea breeze, she knocked on Ezra's door, her heart fluttering with nerves and excitement. Ezra opened it, his flannel shirt rolled at the sleeves, his smile kind but curious, his blue eyes catching hers in the porch light's glow. "Sarah," he said, his voice a soothing hum, like a storyteller calming a storm. "Happy birthday! What brings you here so late?" She grinned, her voice light but charged. "It's been a long day, and I just wanted some company," she said, her hazel eyes glinting with gratitude and a bolder spark. "Got time for a movie? My place is too quiet tonight." Her just-turned-18 confidence pushed her forward as he nodded, gesturing her inside with a warm, "Of course, come in." The living room was a cozy sanctuary, its walls lined with bookshelves stuffed with novels, poetry, and faded journals, their spines glowing in the firelight. A stone fireplace crackled, casting amber shadows across a plush leather couch by a rain-streaked window overlooking the sea. A record player spun a soft jazz tune. Chet Baker, mellow and soulful, its notes weaving through the air, mingling with burning cedar, the faint scent of old books, and Ezra's cologne amber, warm and grounding like a leather-bound novel. They settled on the couch, a bowl of popcorn between them, the TV flickering with a classic film Roman holiday, its black and white charm filling the room. Sarah curled her legs under her, the day's exhaustion tugging at her, but the warmth of the room and Ezra's presence kept her anchored. Their conversations started light. Her birthday, the movie's charm, but the comfort of the setting loosened their guards. Sarah's mind drifted to flashes of their past interactions, each a page in their shared story. She recalled their first meeting, when Ezra had welcomed her to Seabrook with a nod from his porch, a book in hand, his eyes lingering as he complimented her handwritten journal. Another memory surfaced, a summer evening when he'd invited her for tea, sharing a story about a rare book auction, his voice warm as she teased him about his vintage fountain pen. Then there was the quiet moment when he'd read her Lighthouse story draft, his hand brushing hers as he pointed to a line, his voice soft. "You've got a storyteller's heart, Sarah." A more recent evening flickered when she'd lingered at his gate, returning a borrowed novel, his gaze holding hers as he said, "You make Seabrook feel like a novel." Each memory carried a spark she'd tried to dismiss, blaming his reserve on neighborly distance, but now, on his couch, the air felt charged, like a story ready to unfold. The movie played on, but Sarah's eyelids grew heavy, the warmth of the fire and the jazz's gentle rhythm lulling her. She shifted closer to Ezra, her shoulder brushing his, the contact unintentional but electric. The day's exhaustion won, and she drifted off, her head resting against his chest, the steady rise and fall of his breathing a quiet anchor. Ezra froze, his arm still on the couch, his breath catching as he glanced down at her, her face soft and sleeped, the firelight casting golden flecks across her features. He didn't move, didn't wake her, letting the moment linger, the jazz notes weaving around them like a soft tide. When Sarah stirred, the movie's credits rolling, the clock nearing 1 a.m., she realized where she was, curled against Ezra, his heartbeat under her cheek, his warmth enveloping her. Her hazel eyes fluttered open, meeting his blue ones, which held a mix of surprise and something deeper, unguarded. "Oh," she murmured, her voice soft but not pulling away, her hand resting lightly on his chest. "I didn't mean to fall asleep on you." Her just-turned-18 courage flickered, the living room shrinking to just them. The fire's crackle, a soft heartbeat in the background. Ezra's smile was gentle, his voice low, cautious. "You looked comfortable," he said, his tone steady but strained, like a bookseller guarding a rare manuscript. "But you probably shouldn't stay here like this, Sarah. It's late, and it's complicated." His eyes held hers, the firelight reflecting in them like a polished page, a quiet tension humming beneath his words. She shifted slightly, still close, her hand lingering on his chest, her smile soft but bold. "Maybe I like complicated," she said, her voice a mix of teasing and truth, her hazel eyes unwavering. "I'm 18 today, Ezra, huh? I get to choose what feels right. And this feels right." Her dangerous desires pushed her forward, the air charged with possibility, the sea's hum a quiet witness through the window. Their conversation deepened, the Chet Baker record a soft undercurrent as the firelight danced, the clock ticking, unnoticed. Sarah opened up more than she'd planned, the intimacy of the moment loosening her guard. She spoke of her writing, how it felt like capturing a moment's soul before it slipped away. "It's like I'm trying to hold on to something fleeting," she said, her voice soft but fervent, her fingers brushing the fabric of his flannel shirt, its texture grounding her. "I want my stories to make people feel alive like the sea at night." "Does that sound too ambitious?" Her eyes searched his, seeking the man behind the reserved smiles, her dangerous desires urging her to push beyond the comfort of the moment. Ezra nodded, his hand resting on the couch, close enough that she could feel its warmth, a quiet strength like a well-turned page. "Not too ambitious," he said, his voice low, resonant, like a bookseller narrating a rare tale. "Your Lighthouse story had that spark, Sarah. I read it, and it stayed with me alive like a wave you can't forget. It's magnetic." His words were measured, but a new weight lingered in them, a hesitation that made her pulse quicken, her curiosity flaring like a sentence finding its mark. She tilted her head, the couch creaking softly, the scent of cedar mingling with the amber of his cologne and the faint salt of the sea. Magnetic? She teased, her voice playful but edged with daring, her hazel eyes locking on his, their blue depths reflecting the firelight like a book's cover. That's a big word for the neighbor who just writes in her attic. You sure you're not just being kind because I crashed on your chest? Her dangerous desires pushed her forward, the living room narrowing to just their shared space, the jazz melody a soft pulse, the sea's hum a quiet backdrop. He chuckled, a warm, low sound, his eyes holding hers a moment longer than usual, a flicker of something unguarded in his gaze. I'm not that kind, he said, his voice warm but tinged with a quiet intensity, like a bookseller revealing a hidden chapter. You're not just the neighbor, Sarah. You've got this. Fire in your stories, in the way you carry yourself. You fall asleep on me and it's hard to pretend this is just a movie night. The jazz notes swelled softly, curling around them like a gentle wave, the air heavy with the scent of amber and the weight of their moment. The firelight casting golden flecks across the room. Sarah's mind raced, weaving through more memories that deepened their connection. She remembered a spring evening when Ezra had stopped by to share a book on coastal legends, lingering to discuss her latest draft. His voice warm as he said, "You see the world like a poet." Another moment flickered, a fall afternoon, when he'd helped her carry a stack of journals to her porch, his hand brushing hers, his smile brief, but carrying a warmth that lingered in her chest. There was the time he'd paused at her door, admiring her story about a lost sailor, his voice soft as he said, "Your work stays with me, Sarah." And a quiet moment last week when he'd leaned over the fence, his eyes catching hers as he said, "You make Seabrook feel like a story." Each memory was a page, tightening the narrative between them, but pulling her closer to the edge of something bold, her heart pounding with the possibility that his reserve was hiding a deeper tale. The conversation stretched on, the firelight a soft rhythm as the clock ticked past 2 a.m., the sea's hum a quiet pulse in the background. Sarah shared more than she'd intended, her dangerous desires loosening her tongue. She spoke of her fears that her stories might go unread, her dream to create words that lingered like a memory. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm chasing something impossible," she admitted, her voice softer now, her fingers brushing the couch's leather, its texture grounding her. "But when I write, it's like I'm alive in a way I can't explain. Do you ever feel that way about books?" Her eyes searched his, her heart seeking not just connection, but a glimpse of the man beneath the bookseller, the sea's hum echoing her pulse. Ezra leaned closer, his elbow brushing hers on the couch, the contact sending a spark through her, like a sentence hitting the perfect note. "Every time I find a book that moves me," he said, his voice low, resonant, like a bookseller sharing a private passage. "Your lighthouse story did that, Sarah. It's not just words, it's, poured onto the page. That kind of fire, it's rare." His words carried a new intensity, a crack in his reserved facade, and the air between them shifted, the firelight amplifying the moment. Her plan gaining momentum like a story finding its climax. "Hey guys," Sarah said, her voice bright but laced with mischief. As if speaking to her imaginary audience, her eyes glinting as she leaned back, breaking the tension for a moment. "We're about to get into this spicy portion of the story, so please don't forget to like and subscribe." She grinned, the words a playful nod to her daring, but her heart pounded as she shifted, her hand resting lightly on his chest again, the contact sending a spark through her like ink hitting a blank page. "You didn't move when I fell asleep," she said softly, her voice charged with truth, her hazel eyes unwavering. "You could have, but you didn't." "Why does it feel like that means something, Ezra?" The moment held the silence electric. The jazz recorded distant hum as the living room narrowed to just them, the couch, The firelight, the sea's silver shimmer, casting shadows like a spotlight. Her heartbeat quickened, her breath steady but charged, her dangerous desires carrying her forward like a bold stroke across a page. She'd come for company, but now, curled against him, her plan was unfolding. The air alive with possibility, the firelights crackle a rhythm to their unspoken dance. Ezra's gaze softened, a slow smile tugging at his lips, his voice low, strained but warm, like a story finding its perfect ending. "It does mean something, Sarah," he said, his eyes flickering to her hand on his chest, then back to hers. A spark of something unguarded breaking through his reserved demeanor. "You've got this way of pulling people in, making them see the world through your stories. I didn't move because I didn't want to, but you're 18 today, and it's complicated." Her smile widened, her heart soaring, the tension, a living thing between them, pulsing like the firelight's glow. "Maybe I like complicated," she said, her voice teasing but honest, leaning closer, her shoulder brushing his. The contact electric, sending a shiver through her like ink spilling across a page. "I'm 18, Ezra. I get to choose what feels right. And this feels right." Her eyes locked on his, the jazz notes swelling like a cue, her plan unfolding in the charged silence. He laughed, a low, warm sound, his hand resting on the couch, fingers brushing hers, the touch sparking a fire in her chest that felt like a story coming to life. "Your trouble, Sarah," he said, his voice rich with amusement and intensity, his blue eyes twinkling with a warmth she hadn't seen before, like a bookseller uncovering a hidden novel. "I've been trying to keep my distance, to keep things neighborly, but you fall asleep on me on your 18th birthday, and I'm supposed to stay composed? You're rewriting every chapter I've got." Her breath caught, the living room shrinking further, the firelight framing them like a final act on a stage. Her friend's warning echoed faintly. "He's just being polite, Sarah. Don't read into it," but her friend was wrong. This was real, raw, and electric. A moment written in bold lines. "Maybe I like rewriting chapters," she said, her hand pressing lightly against his, the touch grounding her like a page under a pin. "What do you want, Ezra?" "Now that I'm here on your chest, on my 18th birthday," he leaned back, his smile slow, deliberate, his eyes tracing her face like he was reading a rare manuscript. "I want to see where this story goes," he said, his voice soft but weighted, like a bookseller unveiling a hidden tale. "You're bold, Sarah, bolder than I was ready for. You show up here with that spark in your stories, in your eyes, and you're turning my world upside down. I'm not sure I want to stop you." The air was thick with possibility, the jazz record fading to a soft pulse, the living room alive with their shared moment. The seas hum a quiet rhythm in the background. Sarah's dangerous desires pushed her forward, her heart racing with the thrill of her plan coming to life, the intimacy of the living room amplifying every glance, every word. "You're making it really hard to keep this neighborly," she teased, her voice a mix of playfulness and truth, her hazel eyes locked on his, her courage holding her steady like a pin in her hand. He chuckled, his fingers curling slightly around hers, the touch warm and electric, like a spark in a quiet bookstore. "Neighborly's overrated," he said, his voice low, rich, carrying the weight of their moment, the firelight casting a golden glow across his face. "What do you want, Sarah? Now that you're here at 2 a.m. on my chest?" Her heart pounded, the memory of his words echoing, the spark of his touch still warm on her skin. What did she want? The solitude of her attic, the quiet birthday she'd planned. Or this hymn, the thrill, the fire he ignited in her heart, as vivid as her stories. "I want to keep this," she said, her voice steady now, her eyes locked on his, her hand pressing against his, the contact grounding her like a finished story ready to be read. "This feeling, this moment, you..." His smile widened, his eyes twinkling with warmth and intensity, like a bookseller seeing a story come to life. "That's a bold choice," he said, his voice soft but charged, the jazz records final notes fading into silence, leaving only the faint crackle of the fireplace and the sea's gentle hum. But I've always been a fan of bold. The living room was still, the firelight a golden glow reflecting their moment like a perfectly crafted page. Ezra's hand lingered near hers, the air alive with possibility. The popcorn bowl and tea mugs on the couch forgotten like props left on a stage. The sea outside hummed, its rhythm a quiet witness to their connection. "Good night, Sarah," he said, his voice soft but heavy with meaning, his eyes holding hers as he shifted slightly, offering her a way out but leaving the door wide open, the firelight casting long shadows behind him. "Good night, Ezra," she said, her voice a mix of teasing and truth, her heart pounding as she sat up, the spark between them brighter than the firelight's glow. She walked to the door, Seabrook's rhythm soothing, the sea's hum a soft applause in the night. As she leaned against her doorframe, her heart ablaze with the thrill of what might come next. She knew her dangerous desires had turned her 18th birthday into a spark, leaving only a daring new chapter, one fearless